Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Klebs Report. Just a few days ago, we were sitting right here and laughing at Chelsea, and now it's become Manchester United has become the laughing stock. But to dissect it all, we've got a special guest, a friend of mine, also a diehard United fan in Adi Padmakumar. Adi, first of all, how are you doing? And what was your first reaction when you woke up to the news yesterday?
Firstly, thanks for having me, boys. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing. Like you said, just a few days ago, I was listening to your pod and listening to our friend Krish talk about Chelsea, and I thought, you know, at least for a few weeks, people will be focusing on Chelsea. United will be away from all the media scrutiny, and then I wake up and I see that he's been sacked first thing in the morning, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like from 24 hours ago, we're talking about, okay, decent points away at Leeds and one press conference, yeah, a few comments here and there. But I thought, like, let it like stew a little bit, like have some conversations about it. I was not expecting this at all. Um, Even for me, thinking about the Chelsea stuff, I thought, like, okay, they had some issues. You heard about Maresca talk about his 48 hours, worst 48 hours and whatnot. And a few weeks went by and so on. So I thought this was going to be something similar, not just straight away we're going to hear about his sacking. So honestly, I was shocked. I don't know how were you, Shivu, when you heard about this?
Yeah, equally. I was telling Karak just now while it happened to me. I mean, I saw the news while I was in the shower. I was just playing a podcast in the background and they suddenly started yelling and I've come out of the shower curtain like this to see what's happening. Jesus Christ. But yeah, like you, I think even I was in shock. I didn't expect them to pull the plug this quickly. I thought the press conference was quite feisty and like like you said, I thought it'll stew a little bit, but he has had moments in press conferences where he said things that are a bit like crazy, a bit like that grabs headlines. But I honestly didn't expect him to pull the plug this quickly.
I mean, and he's a sweet talker, right? Like this is the one thing we expected him to be really good at, right? He's good with the media.
Yeah,
Everybody sort of like has this kind of affection towards him. He has a charisma, and you hear him like the last few press conferences, and he's kind of a little down, right? So everybody's already speculating on something fishy going on, what's going on behind the scenes. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not a good look for the owners, not a good look for the club entirely. Um, it's tough to say sort of like where do we even go from here, right? Clearly this was unplanned. There's no way a club
yeah.
is doing this in the middle of this busy Christmas period. We have a game in literally 2 days. Like we're gonna have Darren Fletcher as our interim manager. Yeah, like what's the thinking behind any of this? I don't know
Yeah, it
what
didn't seem
our
like
club has
this was all
become.
planned at all. Karak, what did you think when I know you were sleeping when the news came out, and then I was calling you repeatedly, like, brother, what the hell is happening? But what did you make of it as a Liverpool fan, as an outsider?
No, mine was it was pretty refreshing because I was sleeping, and then Sheetal woke me up saying, "Rohit, Ruben Amram is sacked." I was like, "Babe, shut up, babe. Please don't wake me up." And then I just go into my phone, and then she was like, "Amram is sacked," and I'm like, "Yo, listen, I want to enjoy this." So I was just on Twitter for like 2 hours, and boys, what the hell is going on? Like you guys are mentioning, obviously this doesn't look planned, but also we can also talk about a bigger topic, which is about the ownership, right? Because if you look at the Chelsea sacking, which is Enzo, he had a fallout with the owners because the owners wanted Enzo to play a specific way and wanted them to like use specific players and forget about anything else. And with Amorim also, with respect to how he's fallen out with the Glazers in general, do you think that both these sackings have a similar basis where managers are not listening to the owners and managers want that control, or is it just that we are seeing like a different style of ownership coming into the Premier League? Obviously this is happening in the other sports, but then in the Premier League this is the first time I'm seeing where the owners want to make footballing decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like over the last few years, we've seen a big shift, right? Like most clubs see you need a director of football and they sort of are planning out your vision, your style of play, your transfers and whatnot, right? And pretty much that's where this whole concept of like, okay, I'm saying I'm a manager, not the head coach, right? Versus most clubs right now, when they have the structure, they want you to have and behave like a head coach. You're not necessarily going to drive all the transfers. Sure, you'll probably discuss and have some input, but you're not going to be calling the shots. So I think Maresca right from the start, he kind of was put in that position because that's pretty much why they sacked Tuchel, right? He wanted that power. And I think even United, when we initially were looking for replacements for Ten Hag, Tuchel was in the conversations, and I think they haven't had conversations. and he basically wanted more power. He knew that he was not going to get that power with our ownership. So it seemed like this was something that they had agreed on beforehand. Like, sure, you're not going to have complete input on all our transfers and, have like this overarching power over the entire club. But clearly there has been some sort of breakdown in the last 2 weeks, right? I think obviously there's been rumors that it's probably related to the formation. Obviously, in the Newcastle game, he started playing four at the back for a change, and I think we all found that pretty refreshing that he was actually open to change. But it sounds like he was probably forced into it. And now, when he switched back, everybody's obviously questioning, why did you switch back? It clearly worked well at Newcastle. And now he sort of trying to say, like, you guys can't dictate my tactics, my style of play and whatnot. And he's trying to put his foot down, which I don't blame him for doing that. But from the ownership's point of view, I can understand why they ask, but I'm questioning, why ask now? We had enough evidence for almost like a year to, if you wanted to ask, you could have asked in the summer. These are things you should discuss well beforehand, not get to a point where, we're actually doing okay, and then you start bringing these things up. Obviously, like, we've already heard so much about like other clubs. We've seen this happen at Chelsea. Like, you've literally seen another club go through this. Like, why do all of this? Like Shivu mentioned earlier, right? Why not just sit, talk about it? Like, these guys are adults. It feels like it's a huge ego kind of thing where, these directors of football, they want to like put their foot down and make sure that, these managers can't kind of do whatever they want.
Looking back at it, I mean, the press conference when it first came out, post the Leeds game, we didn't, of course, they were feisty comments, but we just thought this will blow over. But looking back at it now, do you think he sort of knew this was coming and then decided to unload? Or do you think this was just like an emotional outburst that happened?
Yeah, now that you look back, it kind of feels like there might have been maybe that conversation already. Again, there's a lot of speculation on Twitter right now, but it seems like there were some sort of rumors coming out that they were planning to sack him regardless of the whatever happened at Leeds, right? It seems like they did have some conversations after the Newcastle game, and that sort of sparked all of this. I even saw on another podcast they were talking about how the media, when he came into the press conference for the pre-match for Leeds, they already, like, he comes in and he greets everybody. He's a very, like, jovial guy. But that day he just kind of walked in and just sat down. But yeah, I mean, talking about press conferences, right? Like, there was one thing that really stuck out to me, even when he had this outburst post game, right? Which was, he called out Gary Neville, right? He was like, the Gary Nevilles and the other ex-players, like, we got to change the club if we're going to listen to what they're saying, right? And I think that's something that's been like annoying me for a really, really long time, right? Obviously, being a United fan, we have all of our legends. Like, they've done great things in the game. They've sort of always been surrounded by success, and they only know success, right? Clearly, they don't know how it is to be in a team that's like going through transitions, ups and downs, finishing 15th. Like they don't know that, right? And all we hear from them is constant negativity, right? Like, I'm sure, Karat, from your perspective, you heard a little bit from Kara here and there. He has his agenda with Salah. But aside from that, I feel like at least Carragher is like pretty level-headed when it comes to Liverpool stuff. He tries to back the team as much as possible. Versus, I feel like the United ex-players and ex-legends, right? They have it out. Like, they honestly, I feel like anytime they have a chance to be negative, they take it. Like, it's not even just like one player, right? Like, we have Gary Neville, we have Scholes, we have Nicky Butt, we have Rio. I mean, Rio for at least is positive, but like, it's constant chirping, right? And clearly, the fact that he's mentioning this in the best press conference means that it is getting through, right? There's clearly there is potential that somebody at the club is mentioning, like, oh, these guys are talking about switching formation. Like, why don't you open up your mind to it or something like that, right? Clearly, the fact that he's mentioned it, there's no way he's just simply saying this for the sake of it.
Yeah. Even if Neville's name has slipped, it means that they are being influenced by it. And like you said, I think apart from Rio, they have all been so critical of us, and it's consistent, right? Roy Keane, especially, I think he's the harshest of them all. He's even come out and criticized our best player since Fergie, which is Bruno. So it is really sad. You'd like some more support from these legends of ours. I think the only one they've sort of backed to a certain degree was Ollie, because he's one of their own. I think even yesterday I was watching a clip of Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes talking about which manager would you approve of, and when Roy Keane's name came up, they said yes, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You want Roy Keane? This man failed at Sunderland, failed at the Ireland job, and you want him? So yeah, I mean, our ex-players are a bit bizarre in that sense. But coming back to Amorim, I just want to know what your overarching view was of him. Do you think he could have got it right. I know his record is unfortunately terrible, and we were all very patient with him. But what leaving as of him leaving now, what was your sort of impression of his entire tenure?
Yeah, like if you take a step back and you asked, let's say, somebody who doesn't watch football, just gave them the pure stats, right? The record that he has, there's no question that he probably should have been sacked earlier, right? But if you give them the context of everything that United fans have been through in the last 10 years, I think that gives you a lot more context to understand why United fans are really patient, why we don't want to start this process all over again, right? Pretty much like every manager that we've sacked, it's been because of results. Either we've not qualified for top four, or we've already essentially dropped the ball so badly that we won't get top four, right? And I think this is pretty much the first sacking that is not purely based on just results, and is pretty much because of whatever, some sort of rift with the board, right? Um, f- from my perspective, I would have liked to see him at least get the rest of the year. Obviously, this period was probably going to be pretty defining because we had this kind of like softer run where we were expecting to collect more points than we actually did. Um, and like, to be honest, like we're in the situation that we are right now. I think a lot of fans that are Amorim out for the longest period of time, I don't think even they would have been prepared for what's going to happen now, right? We don't have a clear option for interim manager. We don't have a clear option for sort of whoever we want next. Because clearly, we're not going to do the same thing as Amram. We're not going to pull a manager in the middle of the season because you know what's going to happen, right? We have this half-year period where you don't sign anyone. We're probably going to do bad. And then you're going to use this as a stick to beat them next year, right? If I was a manager, like, would you want to come mid-season, right? Amorim himself said he didn't want to come mid-season, which in looking back, looks like, okay, he probably knew what he was talking about, right? I think the only manager who's actually had a good run interim is obviously early. I think that was like a, I don't know, miracle run, beating PSG and all of those things. But like pretty much
Vibes.
most other, yeah, straight vibes. Most other interim managers, like even if you think about like Ralph Ragnick, like that was like complete failure. Recently, like even with Chelsea, they took like Lampard. Lampard, like he barely was able to like keep them like what, like 10th, 12th that season. So like I'm not expecting much, but I was thought like it made no sense sacking now because I'm like, whatever's going on, give him till the end of the year. Let's reassess then, right? Even if it seems like maybe Amram was pushing for more, he wanted to get some signings, whatnot right now. I think even if you sort of just kept him at bay, we're going to get the players back from AFCON, just like ride it out, right? So that's the most disappointing part is like clearly this is unplanned. This is sort of put us in a position that we're not prepared for. Even when we are prepared, I'm not happy with how INEOS and obviously the Glazers have handled things so far. Like often, like even with Ten Hag, we had, time we could have sacked him right at the FA Cup, chose not to sack him. 3 months later, you do sack him. Dan Ashworth, we spend all this money getting him from Newcastle, then we wait 6 months, and then you sack him literally 3 months again later, right? So it's a lot of like knee-jerk reactions. Like I'm sure Sir Jim will come out and be like, yeah, I'd rather have done this now than give Amorim more time. But come on, like he does not have a good track record right now for all the decisions he's made so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not convinced that they'll find the best interim, and I'm not convinced that even with the time they have, they're going to find the best option for the next manager.
Just a follow-up question to this, Adi. Obviously, you guys have been supremely patient, and I'm just looking at these stats here. 47 games played in the Premier League, 15 won, 19 lost, 13 draw. I'd just like to understand where does this patience come from? Because, I'd like to see, I'm looking at Arne Slot right now, and I've been Arne Slot out for a month. And, he's just lost like 7-8 games, in the last couple of weeks, couple of months. But listen, guys, how are you guys so patient?
I can sense you're enjoying this a little bit too much, Like, let me just remind you, Liverpool are just a few points ahead of United right now, even with whatever we've been through, right? But yeah, jokes aside, yeah, honestly, I think like I mentioned, right? Like I think we've kind of like wrote off last season. I think a lot of us were like, okay, clearly we're not gonna finish. I think we were like 14th or something at the point. And we knew how bad our team was. It was not like we were an amazing squad. We had tons of problems. We had all this dead weight. Like, no, I mean, if I want to give Amorim any credit, the one thing that he's done well is that he set us up to a point where the next manager probably has an easier sort of like stepping stone. Pretty much all the other managers we've had, we have to like almost like rebuild the entire squad. at least with Amorim, I feel like most of his decisions have been sort of with the long-term plan in mind, rather than taking short-term decisions to have that immediate success. But that's come at his own sort of cost, right? Yeah, so I felt like last season was just like a write-off. Like, we wanted to go far in the Europa League. We were playing like often like second-string teams and stuff in the Premier League. I don't think we would have finished like in an amazing position, probably like maybe like 12th at best or something like that. But I was like, you have to give the guy at least a season. Like, you can't expect him to come and he wants to play three at the back. You got to give him some money to buy some players. You give him one window essentially, right? He's basically had one window plus like a Jan,
Plus
like
Patrick
barely, like Dorgu, right? So it's kind of like, I feel for the guy, and the overall plan was clearly to give him more time. Obviously, certain things have happened that changed plans. So I think from that perspective, like, we were willing to be patient. We wanted to see signs of improvement, and I mean, Shivu, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there were clearly some signs of improvement, not as much as we hoped for. It was like, obviously in preseason, we have our hopes up, expecting like, this beautiful champagne football coming. But instead we got like this incremental progress, a little bit of pain. Obviously we are sort of like a little bit more patient. So we're happy to sort of see things slowly improve. And the signings have been positive also. And he's created like a positive atmosphere. People are working hard. He got rid of a lot of sort of bad influences and like deadwood, right? So overall, the club is in a better place. So we feel like we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So whoever we get next, I'm hoping we have somebody to sort of take advantage of this and not just come here and be like, yeah, all the players are shit. Let's start from scratch again.
Yeah. And adding on to what Adi said, I think I mentioned this in our chat also yesterday. This is the first time we've sacked a manager who's slightly on the upturn. Every other manager we've had in the past, we've sacked because things have gone this way. With Amorim, even though it was slow and gradual, you could see that we are on the upturn because, of course, last year was such a disaster in that sense. But things were looking better. It didn't look like any of the players have really, like, down tools or anything like that. It looks like they were still invested into the plan, which is why I think United fans were also patient, because we could see the players were also invested. So that's the frustrating part, that I think, like Adi said, I think he deserved till at least the end of the year, unless it really got untenable and we went back to 14th, 15th. But we were still sixth in the league, right? As much as certain results were unacceptable, like whether that's Wolves or Everton or Grimsby, there were still certain signs. Like, we saw the Bournemouth game. We were hopeful, after that game. Even after the Aston Villa game, we lost that game, but there were still positive signs, which is where I will hold him a little bit accountable in terms of that adaptability was shown to us. You teased us with it, and then you still refuse to change. Like the Wolves game, he goes back to the three at the back. I think the Leeds game was a better game, but that even in the Newcastle second half, we were all discussing it, like, we played so well in the first half, and then he goes back to that system in the second half, tries to hang on, and we were all like, having heartburn every minute of that second half. So in certain moments like that, I will hold him accountable. So overall, his tenure, I mean, no one is going to look at it like positively, because that win record is unacceptable. But like you said, he has left us a platform. I think the players we signed have largely been good signings. Šeško is not yet proven himself, but Cunha and Mbeumo, definitely good signings. So yeah, it's a strange one, but who do you see next now? Like, I know there's so many names being thrown around. Do you have a potential candidate that is sticking out to you compared to everyone else?
If you're asking me, I have a candidate, man. Enzo Maresca.
Adi, do you agree with that?
3 months later, it's Maresca versus Wilcox all over again, man. It's gonna happen. Yeah, I mean, I obviously in the last, not even how it's been like 15 hours. Yeah, so much speculation. Honestly, I don't think there's been an obvious name, right? I think at least when Ten Hag got sacked, it was like these 3-4 names that we were kind of like trying to decide between. Now it feels like it's on. Like you were mentioning, like Nicky Butt and stuff. You were talking about like Steve Bruce, man. I was like, where are we? What are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
Because they understand the Man United way, man.
Yeah, he was like, let's get Darren Fletcher and Steve Bruce in there. They'll know what to do. They know the United way. It's like, come on, man. What are we doing? Yeah, I feel like they need to take their time. There's been conversations about like waiting till the World Cup, maybe like Tuchel, maybe Nagelsmann. But again, then you have to wait till the World Cup is over. You've lost a month and a half of like post-summer. Like why will any player sign not knowing who the manager is? Then the manager has to come in, get settled. So I can't see that really happening. I feel like we'll have to announce someone at least like a month before the end of the season. Um, Kind of like what Liverpool did with like Klopp, right? Like you knew like Slot was coming in, like paved the way for this new manager. Um, Names off the top of my head, obviously, like we were talking about earlier, there was like people like De Zerbi. We spoke to him last time, but he also fell out with the Brighton board about transfers and control and these kind of things. So I doubt that's going to happen. Similarly, obviously, Maresca, because he's available, but like I don't think it's realistic because he's literally fallen out for the same exact reason, right? Um, Other than that, like God, like I'm hearing like people talking about like Southgate and stuff. I'm like, God, please, please, no, man. Like that's like the. I think it was like any other manager. I will be like, okay, like I love United. I will, back this. Southgate, I'm sorry, like that,
Yeah.
like it's like from day one, I'll have to be like Southgate out. I cannot do Southgate. So that's why it's honestly tough to think of like an obvious
Yeah.
name that would like make sense. Like even from the managers who are like available, like without jobs, it's like there's no one easy. Like who are you going to pluck? People talking about Envy. Like will he really leave Villa? Like that's the
Yeah.
problem, right? Like it's a tough market. Like even with Chelsea, like look at where they're going, right? So it doesn't seem like there's an obvious choice. You kind of like hoping maybe like let's see if Real Madrid get tired of like Xabi Alonso. Do you go for Alonso? Do you go for someone young like Cesc
But
Fabregas?
doesn't Xabi Alonso also like playing three at the back?
Yeah. Our boy Gary Neville was talking. Like, all these clips are coming out now on Twitter of Gary Neville talking about how back in the early days he was like, "Oh yeah, we should play three at the back. This squad is built
Yeah.
for three at the back. We should do it." And now look, now he's like, "Oh no, now we need the United way. 4-4-2 wingers. Let's get the ball in."
Yeah.
And just this
What about
United
you,
way
Shibu?
nonsense. Okay, go on, Shivu. I'll go on about the
No, yeah,
later.
the Southgate one is a funny one. I think I was seeing someone talk about it, and they were saying like Southgate is the choice. I mean, they're considering Southgate because only the England job is something that is comparable to the United job in terms of pressure. But that's all he has. I don't think he has any tactical news or anything that could take us forward. So yeah, I feel like we've reached a point where we've tried everything, right? We've gone for the experience of Mourinho and Van Gaal. We've gone for the United legend in Oli. We've had, of course, glimpses of Carrick and Ruud van Nistelrooy. Then we've gone for the next best thing, the new manager on the block in Amorim and Ten Hag. So it really feels like we've reached some sort of dead end, and I can't think of who would be a good choice right now. I also, like you said, Tuchel is probably an option. Ancelotti is an option, but these are all hypotheticals if they get out of their jobs post World Cup, right? So there's no real name that's coming to me right now. I think Fletcher will get till the end of the season, in my honest opinion. I just hope we don't go that Ollie route just because we've seen what
Just because
happens
the
there,
vibes.
Yeah, just because of vibes. If there is something concrete and we see an identity and we see consistency, then maybe there's an argument for it, but let's not do it just because of
Don't
vibes.
fall into that trap again.
Yeah. I don't want Rio Ferdinand another video coming up. Where's the contract? Give it to him now.
Sign it.
Oh God, that meme will never die, man. That meme.
Yeah.
No, but
But
genuinely, with respect to just the managers available, like, you guys have hit it right on the nail because there's not many available at the moment. Like, if you look at
Xavi.
Zabi,
Xavi's like maybe the other one.
the only one. But then again, like, it comes down to the first question I asked you, like, will United go look for signing a coach or a manager who needs power? Because, at this moment, it looks like they might take the Chelsea route because Chelsea definitely are signing a coach. They're not signing a manager who wants to make the decisions, right? So it again boils down to what United have in store. And also, man, Gary Neville and all of your United pundits, man, what the fuck is this United way, United way? Like, look at your club. Like, your club's going through stuff. You can't be like, hey, listen, just play 4-4-2 and we want to attack. That shouldn't be the point of, any conversation, right? You need to go and you need to dissect what went wrong with United. And everyone says that, hey, listen, the manager was stubborn and all that nonsense. But then listen, there was some sort of progress when he started off from when he came in, right? And that's for a United fan, we've been through this for like 30 years. We completely understand, okay, listen, there's a progress, you see some sort of progress, you take it, you move on. But then it's just some of these decisions, like knee-jerk decisions like this, will affect the fan base, number one, and also the players, right? Because now you have someone coming in for like 6 months. Is he going to play 4 at the back for the Chills because everyone's talking about playing the United way? Or what is he going to do? Because the players have already been preparing a certain way with Amorim. So I just think that, that outside noise, there should be a way to like stop that outside noise to come into at least the ownership side of things. But then again, man, in this day and age, it's so hard to not listen to what's happening outside, right? So it's going to be tough for United to like come back at this moment because, again, this season again could be a write-off because you've done something so stupid. You've done
Don't
something
say that, man.
I just,
I really
It's
hope
too
not. We
early.
have
It's
stuff
too
to fight
early.
for.
no, but it's just so stupid, right? Like you guys are saying, this is such an important junction in the entire season, right? You're in Jan, you're in 6th, you're 3 points behind Liverpool who are in 4th. It's not like you're like 10 points behind and you can't make it to the Champions League, right? Again, so I just don't know, man. Like, it's just such a stupid decision according to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
No,
I mean,
go
sorry,
ahead, go ahead.
like I mean, to your point, right? Like there's still time in the season, and I think that's why we have to get. Like, I think we can't just have Darren Fletcher till the end of the season because this guy has zero managerial experience, right? Like, getting Solskjaer was very different because he had that experience. Even though it was Norway, like, he had won stuff that he's, handled these larger teams. And this is like, you're talking about essentially the biggest club in the world, right? And like we mentioned, there's this extra media scrutiny. I think obviously Fletcher will get a pass. All his ex-United buddies will give him a pass. They won't see a negative thing about him. But like, you're going to have the rest of the United media on you every single day. You're going to have all the fans on you, right? So, and clearly we're saying, like me and Shivu were saying, there is a lot to play for. So I think you have to get somebody with some sort of like experience and try to capitalize on the season. Don't just accept and let it be a write-off, right? There are people available on the short term. I think Fabrizio Romano already mentioned, like, Solskjaer said he's available, not expecting anything long term. I think then obviously there's options like Carrick, like McKenna. Maybe these guys won't expect anything long term, be okay with something short term. And it's again, maybe they would be more of like head coaches, not actual managers, right? So that could be a path at least for the next 6 months.
Yeah, I think Fletcher's he's done a lot of odd jobs at United. He's been with like the loans department. He's training the under 18s right now. He's done a few other jobs. So I mean, how he gets the job is just because he's, I think, the only one like readily available right now. And I don't think any of like Ruben's staff underneath were going to take over without Ruben being there. But another question on INEOS and just this Amorim fallout. In his press conference, he clearly came out and said that I'm here to be the manager. So when he signed, I know, of course, he was signed as head coach. But do you think in the back room, he was told that, yes, you are the manager, and now something has changed in the last 2 weeks or the last month?
Yeah, that's a good question because, like, why is he saying this now, right? Like, this should have been something they discussed when they were first negotiating him coming to United. Like, it should have been pretty clear. Like, if you're clearly telling him you're going to be head coach, he should have known that right from the start, right?
Yeah.
It seems like that's not what he thought, and they've got to this point. Maybe they were sort of listening to everything he said and was following exactly what he was saying throughout. Every signing he wanted, he pretty much got. And then now they finally pushed back once, and he was kind of like, "What? Like, why are you pushing back? Like, don't ask me about tactics. Like, I'm gonna do what I want." And probably that's when he was kind of like threatened, and he started talking about like, "I'm not gonna have the time and money to get the perfect 3-4-3." So it feels like, again, it seems like poor management, poor communication somewhere along the lines. You've essentially given this manager so much sort of like confidence and comfort that he's never really worried for his job. Every time they've asked him, even when he was going through this terrible
Yeah.
run last year, like, are you ever worried for your job? And he's like, no, I speak to both Wilcox and Ratcliffe, and they say, like, your job is safe. Don't worry about that. So it seems like they've portrayed one thing to him, but like in their heads, they're like, oh yeah, he's just head coach. When we say something, then he's going to listen to us. But clearly that's not the case, right? So like in any job, if that was the case, right? Like if your boss has told you that, you have certain powers, and then later they tell you like, oh, actually you don't have that, or like, we're not going to listen to you, like, you're going to be pissed off, right? So I don't blame him for kind of like throwing his toys out of the pram. He didn't really do it, but still, like, he was like, okay, I'm not going to like, it's not even like he said something terrible in the press conference. If you think back to all the stuff that Jose said in press conference when he didn't get the players he wanted and whatnot, this was very tame compared to that. But still, clearly, not even 24 hours later, they got rid of him, right? So I feel like there's clearly been poor management, poor communication. Not surprising, but it's just frustrating to realize that this is how a club like Manchester United is being run. You'd expect more, but I think at this point, like we should know, like expect the bare minimum with this club.
Yeah, it's really sad. And the other thing was with INEOS, the other thing that came out was that we, of course, were going in for Semenyo, right? Who was at a £65 million buyout clause. And then, of course, Semenyo chooses City. And Amorim feels like, okay, cool, since we're not getting Semenyo, those funds are probably available for us. And then they've come out and said, no, those funds are not available. So I feel that that level of betrayal is there, especially at a time when we're going through so many injuries. We have players out for AFCON. We're desperate for someone in that midfield to help us. So I feel for him in that sense that, yeah, we were in dire needs for someone to help us, even though the games and fixtures were easy. But yeah, so I do feel for him in that sense. But Karak, I have an interesting question for you. So we had a little, Ashwin, our friend, posted a little thing in our group chat of all the, the going away messages that United have posted, the club statements. Which manager do you think has got the most number of words on their way out?
Which manager? Ole.
No.
You would hope
Close,
so.
but no. Close, but no.
Don't tell me Ralph Ragnick. Shut up.
6 months, he got 200 words.
Shut up, really?
Social
Oh
was just a little less than that. Everybody else was significantly lower.
Yeah. And I think Mourinho didn't even get mention of the trophies he won. So it's quite
Crazy,
sad.
comical stuff.
Jeez, man. Also,
But
Shiv, I think go on, Adi, go on.
If so, obviously you're slot out, right? I mean, who's to say a month from now we could be having the same discussion and you're talking about interim managers, right? Who would you, if you were in that hypothetical scenario, want for Liverpool in the interim and for next year, since you're
Stevie G.
I'm saying I'll go Stevie G, man. I'll just go Stevie G for the interim side of things. Also, man, you're saying 2 weeks, so you're saying 1 month. We can have this conversation after the Arsenal game. Imagine he gets smacked 5-0. It's curtains, because listen, we've lost to Nottingham Forest 3-0 at home. We've lost to Palace at home. We've drawn to Leeds, we've drawn to Sunderland, we've drawn to Leeds twice. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm just slaughtered because I don't see anything happening in the football field. Again, Gerrard in the interim, and then we go into Xabi Alonso because it looks like he's having trouble in that Madrid dressing room. He's having trouble with Perez, and if he has a fallout with either Mbappe or Vinicius, which looks highly likely, they might, how Madrid are, they're very ruthless and they remove him, and then he can come back to Liverpool and do his thing, man. So that's the thing. So I just want someone there in the interim like a Gerrard, because Gerrard's someone who knows the club. It's obviously not like he's managed Rangers, went invisible there in that league. Not that everyone cares about that league. Obviously, his record at Villa also was poor. But I think Gerrard coming in can start the process of, okay, listen, if Gerrard's coming in, let him finish the season. It might be a write-off, it might not be a write-off, but at least get into the Champions League position, say bye-bye, and then go get someone who can start playing football, which we've all been used to. But again, like 3 at the back is fine, but then come on, I want something, we're so used to Jurgen Klopp's football, man, and then you watch this snooze fest of what Slots doing there, it's geez, man. I'm telling you, I've had a chat with a
These
Liverpool fan yesterday.
fans, man, just shameless. Just see what we've gone through, and you guys won the league this year last year, bro.
Man.
Have some more patience.
Listen, when United used to smash every team out of the park, you guys had standards, right? You guys were like, listen, even though you guys won 2-1, 2-0, you guys will complain. That's not the way we play. And listen, that's, it runs down to the other clubs also, right? I had a chat with a friend of mine yesterday. You know what he said? This is the first time in a long time he just didn't want to watch a Liverpool game because he's like, listen, it's just so boring. And I'm like, bro, listen, that's a match statement, but he might be right, dude, because, just look at what we're doing. Like, some of the players, some of the treatment of what's happening to the youngsters, to Chiesa. Man, I've been slaughtered for a while, and I don't know, man. I hope we don't get battered against Arsenal, but it looks like we might get battered.
But before Liverpool, Arsenal, there's a small case of Burnley and Manchester United. Adi, if I gave you the reins, say you were manager for that one game, how are you setting up that team? Let's assume, okay, I'll give you Bruno Fernandes is fit. I know he may not be, but I think I think Ruben mentioned that he may get some minutes of Fernandez and maybe Mount, but let's say just Fernandez is fit. How are you setting up that team?
No, one more thing. Before you go on, Adi, also Kobe Mino is fit. Bear in mind. So, you can use him if you want.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be magically fit for sure. Expect it. I mean, I saw so many trolls about Fletcher playing both his sons also in the first game. I was dying. People were bringing them into his fantasy teams and stuff to get both the brothers in. But okay, let's do this. 4 at the back. No way I'm playing 3. I'll play Shaw left back. Lisandro Martinez, and I want to put Heaven, but it's just kind of awkward putting 2 left-footed players. But I don't know. I feel like Heaven deserves it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. So I play Heaven as the right center back. Right back, no real other option, right? We only have Dallo. I'm not like his biggest fan, but yeah, he'll put in a shift. Hopefully, it's Burnley, right?
Yeah.
2 holding, Casemiro, Kobe Manu, if he's magically fit. Bruno in front. Again, we don't have a right winger. We don't have a Ahmad. We don't have a Mbumo. Left wing, obviously, Cunha, Sheshko up front. On the right, I would go a little rogue and try to play someone like Shea Lacey. Just give somebody more sort of like a chance, somebody more attacking. Again, it's Burnley. Take the risk. If it's not working, if he's looking sort of off it, bring on Dorgu if you have to.
We have Josh. We have Josh also. I know he's not right winger, but
I'm not. I mean, you could make an argument to play Josh as striker instead of Sheshko. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like his mind is all over the place. I heard already today rumors that he would have probably pushed to leave as much as possible if Ruben stayed. So I'd rather sort of like, give Sheshko more time. I want him to get that goal. I have some hope in him. So I definitely give him more minutes. Sheshko Xerxes can come off in the second half. So yeah, I imagine the team is going to be something similar. I'm pretty sure even Fletcher's going to play something similar. Obviously, Bruno was a huge boost if he's fit. I know he'll probably say he's fully fit and ready to start and play all 90 minutes, knowing him. But we probably want to take it easy. I don't think we should be able to do something to Burnley,
yes.
without Bruno, right? If we can't do this without Bruno, I don't know what we're going to do.
The words "we should do something to this team" has been said many times in considering our fixtures. I think that's one more thing. Yeah, go on.
Last 10-15 years of our lives, bro. Like, we talk about every single United game, every single game, and we're always like, we don't have the confidence, but we think we can do it. We should be able to win.
Yeah, we found new lows every season. But yeah, that was also one last thing on Amorim. I thought something that cost him was his lack of taking risks sometimes. Like you said, playing Shea Lacey. I thought he had the opportunity maybe in the Wolves game also to maybe start him. And just to take more risks in general, to play more free-flowing football. But again, this is in the past. He's gone now. And one last fun segment I thought we could do. And I thought, Karak, I also want you to try doing this. But first, Adi, can you rank our last sort of 7 managers? I'm not going to count Rude or Carrick or Giggs. Just I'll count Ragnick because he was still there for a significant 6 months, like you said. So can you rank our last 7 managers post Fergie?
Oof. Oh, God. So many bad memories to think about. I have to put Jose number 1 just because of what he won. Especially after, essentially, we had just won only an FA Cup since Alex till that point, right? So I have to put Jose number 1. And I think even while we had him, we had that sort of like siege mentality, like us against the rest of the world. He knows how to kind of create that atmosphere. But then obviously once things get toxic, it gets really bad fast. But still, I would say those highs were probably the best. Then I would put Solskjaer second, just because I think the overall vibes and positivity that we had the entire period was probably somehow even higher than Jose at certain times.
And he finished second and third, so it's not, in terms of finishes also, probably justified.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, we got to a lot of semi-finals that I don't even want to think about that Europa League final. So I think it's pretty clear. Those two are the top 2. I think after that, there's like a pretty huge gap. Like, we're talking about like either Van Gaal or Ten Hag. Like Ten Hag had like a good first season, and then
Mm.
sort of like we were playing basketball for the next like
Yeah.
season and a half. Van Gaal was kind of the opposite, where it was like we were very steady, a little too steady. Like you kind of like falling asleep most times. So I would put those two sort of like a good distance away. Like if Jose and Solskjaer are like 8 or 9s, I would put these guys at like 6s maybe.
Mm.
Um, and then then I would put like Moyes and Ralph Rangnick and Amorim at the bottom. But I would give Amorim a little caveat just because like I think he got the least time. He had essentially one summer window, and he probably left us in the best shape going forward. So maybe just a smidge above that. Again, even with the record, it's kind of shocking for me to even say that. But you kind of need
Yeah.
that like larger context. What about you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Pretty much, I had Ole first and Mourinho second, which is strange because Mourinho won us trophies. But like you said, the vibes were immaculate, and we did finish second and third. I think if he wins that Europa League final, then I think he's like cemented as first and Mourinho second. But yeah, I see the argument for Mourinho also as first. I would put Ten Hag third just because of that first season. I think that was some of the best football we played post Fergie. It was short lived, but it was some of the best football we played. Yeah, Van Gaal fourth, Amorim fifth, Ragnick sixth or Moyes seventh, sixth. I don't know. With Moyes, it's strange because it was a Premier League
Harsh,
winning
right?
side, and
Yeah.
then you go to seventh. With Ragnick, he has a Bruno, he has a Ronaldo, he has a Pogba to play with, but whether they were all fully invested, we don't know. So yeah, they are. I don't know. You can put either of them at six. It doesn't really matter. Karak, what do you think?
Mourinho number one, obviously, because of the trophies, and then Ole. I loved actually watching football under Ole, man. Actually, that counter-attacking stuff was pretty good. Third, Louis Van Gaal, only because he was the first person to get in Rashford. I thought that was a bold decision, getting an 18-year-old. I think it was against Arsenal, right, where he made his debut, and he scored also against Arsenal. So fourth, Ten Hag. Ten Hag only goes in the fourth because, man, his record against the top six after that first season just dropped randomly. Like, he just kept, like we kept battering United,
7-0, man.
5-0, 7-0. And that's why I feel like, like also Ole, when it came to like the top four, top six, he always had a good strategy to go with, especially against Pep. For some reason, he just knew how to beat Pep, right? And then your last two was obviously, I put Moyes and then Ralph Ragnick. But I'll give some props to Ralph also because I think he did like a good dissection of what's going wrong in United. Like he gave
So
a
did
heads up.
Amorim.
No, but he gave a heads up that, listen, you guys have a lot of issues and you guys have to fix
Yeah.
it. But then obviously the board didn't take that into consideration. But again, yeah. But like you guys are saying, props to Amorim. I think he's removed all the dead weight, and whoever's going to come in now is going to have a better time than what the other managers have had.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think what you said, Karak. Like Solskjaer's football in today's Premier League will probably be doing really, really well. Like you see so many teams playing this sort of like counter-attacking kind of style of football, right? And we had a good record against the big teams also. I think it was actually the weaker teams that we struggled, and we still do struggle against these teams that sit in a deep block, right? So it's funny how like a few years later, back then we were complaining, we were like, oh, this style of football is not going to work. You can't win leagues at this. And then now most teams are kind of going that way. So it's funny how things work. So I had a quick question. I wanted to get your guys' opinion. Obviously, Shivu, for you, what was your, I guess, highlight for the entire Amorim period? And then for you, Karak, what was your highlight from a rivals fan point of view with Ruben's reign?
I'll go first. I think beating Liverpool was definitely a highlight. We haven't done at Anfield. We haven't done that in a long, long time. So that is definitely a highlight. I think the Lyon game was fun, but then again, should you be winning a game like that? Probably not. But I mean, in terms of vibes and energy, that was probably a fantastic moment. What else? I think there were, again, we were hopeful after the Arsenal game. I remember we did a podcast right after that, and I came out and said, we will be okay because we saw enough in that game thinking. But that's just the thing, right? There was a lot of hope and patience, but never that actual liftoff. That liftoff never came with Amorim. So yeah, I'd say the Liverpool game and probably that Lyon game last year. Not much else to really talk about.
Mine's an easy answer. Grimsby, baby, Grimsby. Because
You had a lot of options to choose from. It was like Europa League final.
But
Yeah.
Grimsby was the icing on the cake for me. I just lost my mind. Like, I literally told Shiv, what the fuck is going on? Like, and I have so many United fans to talk to. All I'll do is I'll just put a broadcast message saying, Grimsby. Listen. But again, like, I think the Liverpool game was a standout from a positive perspective. Also, the Arsenal game, like, even though, like, in the first game of the season this year, I genuinely thought, wow, United actually look good. They look very good. They could have scored a couple of goals. And again, God knows what happened after that first game because I never saw that kind of performance for a very long time. And then you come to the Bournemouth game where it was 4-all. That's the only time you saw United going, listen, we want to play for the badge. We want to go play some attractive football. We want to please Guy Neville, not Ruben Amorim. So, yeah, so at the end of the day,
Oh God.
yeah, man, Grimsby for me. And I'll take that and go. But I'm feeling bad for you guys. I hope you guys have a great time with Darren
Oh,
Fletcher,
I don't
and
want this pity, man.
He says it as he smiles and says that.
nah, man,
But
you guys wait for the slot downfall anyway, because we're going to get smashed by Arsenal. But before we close, obviously we've been speaking about United. Thoughts on the league, Adi? You think Arsenal are going to do it? Because if they're going to do it, I'm off Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything.
I mean, for United fans, it's honestly worse. Like, it's Arsenal, City, start of the season, you're talking about Arsenal, City, Liverpool, also literally all the options were the worst possible options you could have. I think the way I cope with this is just purely, I'm like, whatever happens, I'm going to hate it. So I
Yeah.
just choose not to think about it. I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to enjoy the result. So why get invested? I have enough to worry about in my.
Yeah. Yeah. And Liverpool have reached 20 already. So, like, that was the one thing we were hanging on to, but you all have matched us there. So, yeah, we are oblivious to that chat. But yeah, I think that's been episode 21 of the Clutch Report. This has been an emergency pod considering what happened yesterday. But please like, share, subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one.